everyone, welcome back again to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching us how we can go about this funnel corset train on your screen right now. And this is the fabric we are going to be using with this. We're going to be using this plain one for the bodies, and we're going to be using this African print for the cup part, like for the bustier part, okay? And this is actually a crepe fabric, okay? So guys, if this sounds like something you want to know, can you please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. So without further ado, let's dive right into the main video. Guys, to begin with, we are going to be drafting out our pattern paper first. We're going to be drafting it on a pattern paper. Then this will be the part drafting tutorial, and the other tutorial will be the sewing part, okay? So guys, I'm going ahead to roll out our horizontal lines, and I hope you should know how to do that by now, because I have a lot of tutorial on my channel that I used to do this. I normally do this very well. So I don't want to do it too long, so that's why after a tutorial is done, okay? So now, the next thing for me to do now is to mark my back measurements, okay? So my back divided by 2 is 8. I'm going to mark my 8 inches here. Now I'm going to rule across, okay? But before we rule across, we have to know our chest line depth. But before then, we are going to come down by 1 inch here for our shoulder slants. Okay, we are going to come down by 1 inch for our shoulder slants, and you can also say, call it the shoulder slope. Then I'm going to be using a neck width of 3 inches by 3 inches, which is the standard measurement for our round neckline. So then I'm just going to go ahead and properly connect this into a form of circle. So after me doing it this way, then I'm going to connect my shoulder slant into my neckline. So guys, after connecting it to our neckline, then we are now going to come down by our chest line. So to get our chest line, or you can call it your ankle line, to get that, you divide your bust measurement by 6, then you add extra 1.5 inch to it. That's also a standard measurement of getting your chest line, which is also known as your ankle line. So I have mine to be 7.5 inches. Then I'm going to go ahead and mark my 7.5 inches, which is my ample depth, okay? Then I'm going to make a straight line all the way across. So then I'm going to connect this slanted line all the way to my chest line. So I'm going to label this CL, which is my chest line. Then I'm going to come all the way like so in a straight form. So after connecting like so in a straight form, the next thing for us is to do now is to find the midpoint of our ankle line. And for this corset part, for this funnel corset, I'm not going to be adding yoke to mine, but I'm just going to be putting this for illustration so that we won't get confused, okay? So find the midpoint of this, okay? I told us how we can find the midpoint of our ankle line. Then by doing your tape this way, this is how you can find it. So you make a point there and you come in by ½ inch. So then before you can connect your armhole to your chest line, you have to divide your bust point by 4. Then I have it to be 9.5 inches. Then I'm going to make a point here. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is to connect this to my chest line, which is my bust point here, my bust circumference here. And trust me guys, if you don't have a cuff ruler, it's totally fine. You can do up to do this with your free hand. So after connecting your armhole line, please try as much as possible to blend this into this, okay? So after connecting it like this, so the next thing for us to do now is to take our bust span measurements. So this particular corset is more or less like a bustier. I'm going to be drafting out my bustier first, okay? So I'm going to come out by 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple, or you call it bust span, okay? I'm going to roll it all the way across to my full length. So then after making a point there, I'm going to connect with my straight ruler. Then I'm going to make a straight roll. So then after making your straight roll this way, you come to your waistline. So after your waistline, you can go ahead and take your normal that leg, okay? But I'm going to be taking this one for call. I'm going to be using 2 inches for my contour, okay? For the bust tightening here, my that leg, and I'm going to divide the 2 inches by 2. I'm going to average 1 inch. So if you're on the smaller side, you can use 1.5 inch. But that 1.5 inch, you have to divide it into 2 and share it to this particular one, okay? So then after that, go ahead and mark your 1 inch all the way. So this is it right here. Then I'm going to connect it all over to my bust line. So this is just a normal way of drafting out a bustier. Okay, after doing it this way, you come down by 0.75 inch for your bust contour, okay? This serves as where your boots will be sitting very well, like it's more or less like where your boots will be sitting on. So just make sure that you remember you're making a corset and one part is not longer than the other. So you go ahead. So I'm trying to find a point that it's going to miss the armhole curve. Sorry. So after that, I'm going to repeat the same process to this. So what I apply here, I'm going to apply it here also. It's also applicable to the other side. So after you're doing this, we're already gonna try to make your to cut out, to draft out of brassiere. So then I'm going to extend this start leg to my hip line right now. So I want us to know that this point will be cut off. Okay, we don't need this part, but we're still going to be cutting it out later. So at this my chest line, the next thing for us to do now is to know how covered we want this pussy part to be. Okay, how covered we want it to be. So if you wanted to show a bit of your cleavage, you can add 1.5 inch. But I want mine to be a little bit covered. I'm going to be using 2 inches on it. Then I'm going to go ahead and make a point right there. So after that, I'm going to extend this line to it so that we won't get confused. Okay, extend this line to it. But before extending the line, remember that we have our shoulder slants here. We have to divide our shoulder slant into 2. Okay, we have this to be 5. Then we are going to be working with 2.5 inch. Now I'm going to connect in a straight form to my bust point. Okay, this will actually be a little bit slant, but that is how it's supposed to be. So after you're doing it this way, this line, you see, I didn't actually connect it to the middle line. It's actually slanted. Then I'll go ahead and erase this part so that we won't get confused. Alright? We'll erase this part so that we won't get confused. So guys, the next thing for me to do now is to come by half inch on both sides. So this will be for our bust tightening at the upper parts, okay? So then after you're doing it this way, you go ahead and connect, okay, in a slant form as well. Just watch me. Guys, after connecting this way, I later changed my mind. You know, I came up by 2 inches for my chest line, okay? So I decided to come down by 1.5 inch, and I think that should be okay. Because me saying this, I think it will be covered that much. I don't want it to be covered that much, okay? So this is 1.5 here, and I'm going to extend this to my armhole line. Okay? So then after connecting it, so I don't have this place to straight very well. So I must make sure it's straight. So after connecting it this way, I will now withdraw this house. So it has already affected this one. Yes, ma'am. So after doing it this way, the next thing to form now is our sweetheart neckline, okay? So you can go ahead and connect it this way, one after the other, okay? You can go ahead and connect it one after the other. But I'm going to be connecting my sweetheart neckline to this point, okay? So my cuff is not taking everything together, so I have to do it one after the other. Alright? Okay, so then I'm going to connect this to my armhole line as well. So then I'm just going to go ahead and join this together. So this is sharp, okay? I don't want it that sharp. So I'm going to erase the first line since my cover line is not taking everything together. So I have to do it one after the other, okay? So guys, after doing it this way, the next thing, remember that this also will be cut off, we don't need this, but before cutting this out, so the next thing we are going to do now is to take our measurements, okay? So our bust divided by 4 is 9.5, okay? But remember that we leave about half inch on both sides this point, but before we add it to our chest line, we are going to determine our bust, our side dart, sorry. So the reason why we are taking this side dart is because our waist for the front and for the back is totally different, okay? Our waist for the back is different. So then let's take our measurements first now. So the next thing I'm going to do now is, we have this to be 9.5 inch. I'm going to come to my waistline. So my waist divided by 4 is 7 inches. So I minus 3 inches from my waist. Okay, then I'm going to connect. So my hip divided by 4 is 11.5 inches. So this is it right there. So mind you, this is not the circumference. This is not the bodies we are going to be working with. Just watch me the way I'm going to be doing. Please do not go and cut your fabric this way. So if you cut this way, we are going to have a lesser fabric when you're sewing it. Okay. So now the reason why I did this is to determine where I'm going to start my side dart. Okay, how long I want the side dart to be. So the different of my waist to my from my waist front and my waist back is 2 inches. Okay. So now the next thing for us to do now is our side dart. So to take our side dart, I have my waist for the front to be 16 inches. Okay. Now I have my waist for the back to be 14.5 inches. Okay. So you minus 14.5 inches to 16 inches. So I have it to be 1.5 inch. Okay. Then I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch all the way from here. Then I'm going to slant it all the way to my bust point. So just watch me the way I'm doing. This is actually simple to make. So guys, this will also be cut off now. Okay, so the next thing for us to do before we take any other measurements now, we have to split out this part, okay, so that it can overlap each other. So after you cutting it this way, remember we only cut this out and this out, but I left about 0.0, not up to half inches, half inch, about quarter of an inch. So I'm not cutting the entire pattern paper. Then I'm going to overlap this way. Okay, we have to overlap this way. So guys, next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to tape down. Okay, so I'm going to be using this small tape since I don't have a bigger one. I'm going to be using this small tape. So then I'm going to cut. Okay, this is it right here. Okay, so guys, next thing I'm going to do now is to come to my chest line here. I'm going to measure the opening part. Okay, so if you notice that this side is kind of shorter, don't worry, we are still going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to place it like this. So then I have about half inch here. Then I'm going to replace the half inch to my chest line. So please do this to replace it as well, because if you don't do this, you are going to have a lesser fabric as your chest line. All right. Okay, so then I'm going to come up by 1 inch, half inch on this line as well. So I'm going to use it to join and connect to these points. Okay, then I'm going to connect it this way. So guys, this will be our new arm 09. Okay, this will be our new arm 09. Then I'm going to extend this to this now. Okay, using my free hand. Okay, so after doing that, remember that this line and this are not connected together again. I'm going to go ahead and connect it together. Okay, we are going to connect this together this way. Okay, so can you see what we have there? So guys, the next thing for us to do now is to replace our dash to our bodies. Even though this dash will come out of this body, we have to replace it. So if you don't replace it, you're going to have a lesser fabric, like I said the earlier time. Okay, so as my waistline, I have to be 2 inches. I'm going to replace these 2 inches again. Okay, I'm going to replace these 2 inches again. Then at my bust line, I'm going to add the extra half inch here. Then I'm going to connect it all the way. Then I'm going to move over to my hip line as well. I'm going to replace the 2 inches I have to my hip line as well. Then I'm going to reconnect everything together. So this will serve as our new bodies we are working with. Okay, I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So this is just a normal way of you drafting out your bustier. Okay, it's actually simple. So the difference in this is that go ahead and minus your waist. Okay, so that it's going to give you that snatchy effect, and then the cup pass. Okay, so this is it right now. So we are not going to be cutting this out again. Okay, so I'm just going to use my marker to trace this out so that you guys don't get confused. Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to be cutting this out. Then we are not going to be making use of this first line. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now is I'm going to add another dart leg to this. If you like, you can leave it that way, but I'm going to add another dart leg to it. So I have this to be 4 inches. Now I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay, so whatever I have there, I'm going to make a point, and I'm going to roll it all across to the line, to this line. So guys, after removing to this now, you can decide to leave it like this if you don't want it snatched. But I want to snatch this also a bit so that it will give me that tighty effect. I'm just going to come out by 0.3 on both sides. So I don't want to come by half inch because I don't want it to be too tight on me. Okay, now I'm going to connect it in form of a dart leg, normal dart leg. I'm going to repeat the same process to this point, but not up to my full length. Okay, so you can come up by 1.5 inch on your hip line. So that's where your dart leg will stop. So after stopping your dart leg like this, so the next thing for us to do now is to cut. But remember that we are going to be adding extra half inch to this point. But before we add it, let's check what we have here. So we have this place to be 3.5. Let's check what we have here. We have 3/4. Then I'm going to be adding extra quarter to it. Okay, then I'm going to reconnect this and blend it all over. So this is it right side. I'm going to join it to this point. Okay, so the next thing for us to do now is to cut out. But please watch very well where I will be cutting, okay, so that we won't cut where you. So before cutting, remember that we are going to bring out this effect that we want, okay. So this kind of shape that we want for the front, okay. Then I'm going to come inward from this point, okay. Come inward from this point by 1 inch, okay, or 0.75 inch. Then from my bust points, I'm going to come down by 0.5 by 1 inch. This actually depends on how you really connect it. This depends on your shape you want this to be. Okay. So guys, can you see this is where we are going to be cutting out? Okay. So guys, before then, we are going to cut out our buster parts first before we cut this out. So please pay very close attention to where we'll be cutting out. So guys, before I cut anything further now, I'm going to pin this place down, okay? So I'm going to pin this pattern paper down now so that it doesn't get mixed, okay? I'm going to pin it down now. And this is it right here. So this is the measurements we are working with. So guys, now I don't want to leave this edge straight, okay? Now I don't want to leave it straight like that. So I'm going to be overlapping this. I will not let it overlap each other like so. I'll just place it side by side. Now I'm going to tape that. Okay, so this is after taping done now. Then I'm going to cut it and remove it this way. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Then I'm going to start making a scallop. I want this part to be scallop, kind of scallop, okay? Now, so before me cut this scallop like out now, I'm still going to go ahead and remove this tape out first. Okay, and split it into two. Then I'm going to cut out my bustier with another piece. Okay, so I'm going to bring another fresh pattern paper out now. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to bring out another fresh pattern paper. So this is the fresh pattern paper now that we are going to be cutting out this bustier part too. So this center front of our bustier, let it be like this, and it's going to be stopping under our under bust. Let me drag it up so that you see. So this is it right here. Okay, so then we can go ahead and pin now. And pin. So I just make sure that it's stopping under my under bust. So the next one I'm going to bring it this way as well, making sure it's stopping at the other bust. So guys, next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to cut out. We're going to cut the crochet part out first. Please watch me the way I'll be cutting it out though. So guys, can you see? I'm gonna cut the crochet out. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to remove my pins. So now this is my pin here. So I'm going to pin this out so that I don't get it lost. I'm going to pin this, okay? So as you can see, the next thing we're going to go ahead and do now, this is the crochet part, okay? The next thing we're going to go ahead and do now is to cut this out, okay? But before then, I'm not going to be leaving these two straight, okay? Just let's curve this edge a little bit. So after cutting it, you're going to go ahead and cut it a little bit. Okay? Cut it a little bit. So this is our cup part now. So guys, the next thing we're going to do now is to cut this side out. Okay, let's cut this side out now. Okay, this is how it's going to be. We are going to bring this like this. Okay, so this will be like this. Okay, this is our under, this will be like this. This is how it's going to be right here. Okay, so guys, the next thing we are going to do now is I'm going to open up this darts out. Okay, I'm going to open it out, but before I open it out, I'll take this back together. So that I'm going to go ahead and cut my scallop out. So please don't let it overlap each other, just side by side. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and start cutting out this scallop line. So guys, right here. So this is going to be. I'm going to remove this take out. This is my okay. So next I'm going to go ahead and do my to open this out. Before they I'm going to name this 1, 2, 3. Okay, side fronts 1 and side fronts 2. Okay, this was the level so I don't get confused. So I'm going to go this take out now. So this is standing here. So I'm going to cut it outside. This is how it's going to be. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead. Pin this side down. Okay, pin it down. So this is it right here. This is our front patterns. Okay, this is it right here. And I hope you all understand what I did right here. And this is the crochet part. This is our side front and the center front. Okay, so guys, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is let's draft out the back patterns. Guys, the next thing we are going to do now is to draft our bodice, the back bodice out. And I'm going to do this, and this is just a normal way of drafting out our basic bodice. I hope you understand this. Okay. So then I'm gonna to mark my neckline, shoulder slope, and all my horizontal measurements. So then I'm gonna to make my hammer curve, but I decided to erase it back to explain something here. You know, as our hammer will normally come out by ½ inch. Okay, but for the back, I'm not going to be coming down out by 1 inch. I'm just going to mark my waistline, my bust point, which is 9.5. Yeah, then I'm going to connect my armhole curve all the way. Okay, this is after connecting it now. So before we roll this out, so let's measure our nipple to nipple. Yeah, we have to add that to this point as well. So you can decide to leave it blank if you don't want to add your darts, but I'm going to be adding my darts to this. Okay, then I'm going to make a straight line all the way. But the dart I'm going to be adding for my back is quite different. Okay, it's quite different. I don't want it to be too snatched. Okay, so I'm just going to be coming out by ½ inch, and that's the dart I'm going to be working with, just a normal basic dart. So I'm going to connect it to my bust point this way. So at your hip line, please come up by 1.5 inch. Okay, then you mark it that way. So after connecting it that way, okay, after connecting this way, the next thing is to take our body circumference. So our waist is 7 inches, remember? So then I'm going to replace this 1 inch for my dart intake, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and connect all the way together. So I'm just going to be adding only one dart leg to this, okay? Then as my hip line, I'm going to measure my hip line to be 11.5 inches, okay? 11.5 inches to this point. Then I'm going to connect all the way as well. So after connecting to this point, the next one I'm going to do now is to bring out my highlight, since I'm not going to be adding a zipper. So now from this chest line, now I'm going to bring out my highlight. But before bringing out our highlight out, we are going to make our neckline, okay? So from my chest line, I'm just going to come down by 0.75, okay? Then I'm going to slant it all the way, joining it to my armhole line. So this will serve as my back armhole. I decided to make it a little bit down to my chest line. So now let's come out by 1.5 inch for our eyelet part. Then I'm going to use 1 inch at this end because I want it to be a kind of a V, not a straight one. Can you see? So guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is to draw another line here. So this will serve as my eyelet part. This is just a guide for us to know that this is where our eyelets will be sitting, okay? I'm just going to make a circle here. Okay? So now the next thing for us to do now is to cut out. So guys, if you want to add your yoke, you can go ahead and come down by 1 inch for your back, or 1.5 inch, depending on how you want it. Then you make a curve all the way with your curve ruler. You want it all the way to this place. It actually depends on how big you want it to be. You're just going to cut this place out, okay? So it will serve as your opening, but I'm not adding any yoke to this. So can you see guys now? But at this point, now I'm going to place this side together. So then I'm just going to come here, okay, this way. This is the point I want this to be, okay. This is it right here, okay. So I'm going to curve it all the way to this point because I don't want this to be scallop, okay, just a normal curve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out. So after cutting out, guys, this will be the end of the video. This is for our back, and this is for the front, okay. This is the center front, this is the side front, and this is the center front, okay. Then I have this to be my dossier part. So guys, if you find this helpful, kindly please don't forget to give this a thumbs up, like, and share. In our next video, I'm going to be teaching us how we can go about the sewing part with the fabric I mentioned earlier. See you guys in my next video. I love you all. Bye.